This shit show of a graph is trying to explain a little bit about some real connections between these groups. There's a lot to this section, and I really do want to move on, so I'm just going to say it fast. The American Legislative Exchange Council is a group that is consisted of state legislators. It's consisted of a number of corporations, private, like just investors, an individual can be a part of it. And what they do is they work with, they draft legislation, right? They have a bunch of different working groups, and they're the ones who wrote SB 1070. Some people might have heard this. NPR did a big report on it, that they drafted SB 1070 at one of their conferences, then took it back and implemented it in Arizona, and it passed. They do this every year. Only about a third of the type of legislation that they draft gets passed into law. But still, they draft hundreds of pieces a year and take them back home to all of their states. They're no one new. This isn't like a brand new thing that's just happening. They were really influential in the early 90s, which caused our prison population to rise. They were behind 3 strikes you're out laws and truth in sentencing laws, which made people mandatory to serve at least, what was it, 75, 80% of your term, and then also 3 strikes you're out, meaning, third felony, you get life. So they've been working really hard for a very long time to get more people behind bars because they make a lot of money. Both CCA and GEO Group, as you can see, are part of ALEC, meaning those are the 2 largest private prison companies in the US, very integral in ALEC. I should have been saying that stuff while I was here, huh? That would have made sense. The nation's largest bipartisan individual member association of state legislators. It's also really funny, sometimes it's like people get excited about something that sounds like a conspiracy. The really sad part about everything we're presenting on today is it's all out in the open. People are proud of this. This isn't hidden. Like, you can find these figures, and please go find them and help us accumulate more. Like, it's not like that much research to do. People are very proud of these figures and these groups and what they're doing. This isn't very, very hidden. So, this is just some of the specific breakdowns of how ALEC works. I'm going to jump past it. This is just showing detention facilities. So, it's not actually as simple either that there are state facilities housing people without papers or private facilities. There's both, and then there's this mixed thing that's called IGSAs, Intergovernmental Service Agreements. That means that it might be a state or a federal institution that is being contracted out to be ran, right, to be managed by a certain group. One of the biggest groups, I wish I remembered their name, I always forget it, it's called like Public and something, I can pull up, I won't do it now, I'll find it later. They're from Utah, and they actually manage some of the largest detention facilities in the country, including in Texas. I forget their name a lot, there's so many names, but so it's not just private, it's not just state, there's also those intergovernmental service agreements that are happening, and people are making lots. So this is just a breakdown that some people we know did to really reveal who's behind these groups, who's behind CCA and GEO Group. There's a specific niche of people working right now kind of to, in a way, model a divestment model that got really big in South Africa around apartheid, that people are talking a lot about right now with Palestine. And some of the main things that people are talking about are Wells Fargo, General Electric, Motorola, and Caterpillar. These are some people who invest and basically fund these groups. This is really deep, and there's lots to the walls of shame. I'm just going to cruise through it though. This is some good connections between the wall in Palestine and the wall here. So this is General Electric's involvement in both, Motorola's involvement in both, Pacific Bank's very key in both. This is some of the companies who own them. And this is really important actually, so more people can get attention around who these companies are, where their funds come from, and we can fight for folks with figures to divest, and in very legal ways to pressure these people with money through various methods we've seen other campaigns employ, public shaming, or basically just getting the word out as well about what they do. So now we're going to try to transition into the second half of what we want to do, and doesn't have to be quite as long as the first, is the resistance section. So we've tried to give basically that context of what's happening, and again, please, we don't purport to know everything. This is a little of what we've seen, experienced in Arizona, that's happening all over as well, and researched. I'm sure that all of you have experiences as well with a lot of these issues, but we have seen the situation play out how we described in the first half, so we've responded, and I say we loosely, a number of people in Arizona have responded accordingly and tried to really resist this and fight back, not only against the white supremacist legislation, but a white supremacist paradigm that's really just like getting every last corner of our society right now. So we tried really hard to counter that. A number of amazing people have fought for that and have been fighting for that for a long time.
So I guess we just wanted to like talk through a little, like a couple of different projects that people are doing, different groups that people are involved in, different ways that people are responding. And so one of those ways is direct action. There's like a number of different ways that people are responding directly. That includes a lot of really amazing work, solidarity work between indigenous organizers and other folks, specifically anarchists. There was an action in Tucson last May where six activists came, locked down at the Border Patrol headquarters, occupied the Border Patrol building for a number of hours, and were eventually arrested. I think we have a couple of their demands later on, but essentially they were acting against the militarization of O'odham. Tohono O'odham is the indigenous group whose land straddles the border in the area of Tucson, and Tucson actually is encompassed by their traditional land. And so protesting the militarization of O'odham land, protesting free trade agreements like NAFTA, and generally resisting the criminalization and militarization of the border. Those folks went to trial about a month ago, and there were some solidarity actions. Folks again got arrested in Tucson. There were actions on July 29th. People in Phoenix locked down at the Maricopa County Jail and actually forced Sheriff Joe Arpaio to delay some of the raids that he was planning that day. People also blockaded a highway in Tucson and occupied an intersection. There were arrests both in Phoenix and Tucson. More recently, there was a National Socialist Movement march in Phoenix that people went out to resist, that also resulted in a number of arrests, and also resulted in revealing the connections between the police and the NSM marchers, like revealing how they acted in coordination to move the march forward as it was being resisted by anti-racists.
NSM being neo-Nazis. I think we said that before, but those are the neo-Nazis. Specifically, like explicitly wearing swastikas, marching with the police.
Mm-hmm. And then more recently, there have been actions, smaller actions. There was a night march in Phoenix a while ago after a number of youth were killed, like that we put up earlier, to bring light to the fact that youth are being affected by these policies, that youth are being killed on the border. So that's just a little bit of the direct action that's going on. We can talk more about that. This is an action that happened on July 29th. Here are some of the demands that people are making. People are making really radical demands and going way beyond SB 1070 and saying that we need to be resisting in general the militarization of the border, the enforcement of the border, resisting borders in general, and the occupation of O'odham land by colonizing forces. So one particular project that is happening in Tucson is a project called Migra Patrol Cop Watch. Migra in Spanish generally just refers to the authorities that enforce immigration. So whereas like, people are probably familiar with Cop Watch programs in other places where people go out and document when the police are involved in an arrest or a detention, this group is specifically designed to document the collaboration between the police and Border Patrol, because as Ricky was saying earlier, we don't have a 287G agreement in Tucson. What we have is police discretion. And like Ricky was saying, the police have denied that for years, that they're contacting Border Patrol when they suspect that somebody's undocumented. And Border Patrol Cop Watch is designed to document and prove that it's happening, and start like planting the seed of resisting that. So people essentially, like, there's a hotline that people call when they see Border Patrol in their communities or see Border Patrol involved in a police stop or a police arrest. There's also a police scanner that people use to monitor the police's actions so that people can respond and be there when Border Patrol is intervening in a police action and document it and talk with people about what resources are available to them, what their options are. And so that's a project that's going on to document the ways in which the police are enforcing immigration law. I don't know if you've